Hi everyone, and welcome to a Friday Warno video that isn't a dev blog because we're not getting dev blogs because people are on holiday, namely Mad Matt, because Mad Matt does a lot of the dev blogs. Today I want to talk about the state of the game. It's something I've and ahed over doing again for a while, and since we're having a little break from dev blogs, maybe now's a good time to do it. To see where we are, where we're up to with the original early access outline, the plan as it were. What we've still got to come, and should you buy it yet? So we're going to go through all that stuff. Grab yourself a cup of tea. By the time you drank it, it'll be over, so it's all good. Now, this is the original milestone layout. Now, we all know, as I said in one of my previous videos, these dates aren't correct anymore. We knew that was coming though. I said that from the start. I didn't think they were going to be able to stick to it. Many companies don't manage that. It doesn't matter what size they are, and UGen's quite a small company now. So I'm not surprised they haven't managed to stick to these milestone dates and everything else. So we got Bandanner, which came out in July rather than April. It's a few months late. Again, as I say, I'm really not surprised. If people are upset by this, look at most early access games. They very rarely run to schedule. And, unlike most, they haven't cut anything from the early access plan. Everything's still there. They're still planning to release all of this and more before the game is released. So, they haven't taken anything away from what they promised. In fact, if anything, they're probably adding to it as time goes on, especially with plans for the future. Bandanner is going to be one French and one British division, and that was originally slated for May. It's either going to be the end of August or September now. I imagine it's going to be in September since a lot of the team are having a lot of time off during August, which is fair enough. They deserve a break. And then I think the plan is overall there'll be 2 French and 2 British divisions. So that means there'll still be another French and British division after this. And also 3 campaigns. And some kind of tutorial system as well. And what I expect is that tutorial system is probably going to be somehow linked into the campaigns. Or one of the campaigns. And that kind of makes sense. That's how a lot of RTS games or games in general do it. It's part of the story or campaign that you're playing. So, right now there are 12, as you can see here, divisions in the game. Another 4 will give us 16. I think that will be the end of it. Maybe there's more planned and I just haven't clicked, but I think the 2 French and 2 British divisions will be the end of that before release. Focus will then shift to balance and the campaigns, and improving the AI, I expect, and all that kind of stuff. And then they'll be thinking about post-release, and post-release we'll be thinking about mod stuff. So obviously they've released some of the modding tools, little bits of information and things, but they're planning more modding tools. And I didn't expect some so early, so hopefully, fingers crossed, soon after release of the game we'll get a lot more modding tools. The other thing I expect after release is a map editor. I didn't expect that to come on release. I think that's like a long-term project as something for the community so we can make our own maps to make them super perfectly balanced for tournaments, to make the tournament games extremely streamlined and probably really boring because the maps won't be asymmetrical. But, that's something for the future. I think there's a lot that has improved over the past few months, and sticking to a schedule is difficult for any company, as I say, and UGen have gone out of their way to make big changes to the game. Infantry was one of those big changes. At the outset, they had in their head they wanted to simplify things because they're aware that their games aren't necessarily easy to access. They are challenging to pick up and play, and they are even more challenging to master. And that is just what UGen games are like. Now, their original plan with infantry, for example, was that lots of stats were going to be the same on all weapons to try and simplify things, But due to community feedback, mine, yours, lots of people's, they went back and completely reworked infantry, much in the same way that the Wargame Red Dragon infantry is, with different ranges, with different damage types, with suppression in one area and not others, aka machine guns. Everything was reworked. There's even some hidden stuff that they don't really talk about, like SMGs. It doesn't tell you on here, but SMGs, if you are close range, like 175 meters, SMGs do 5 times the damage. This is a problem with Eugen's detail cards still. Some information isn't on there that really should be on there. That's one of the things that should be on there. And that was something that was discussed on the official Discord. Someone spotted this. So that's quite interesting to note, that there's still things missing from these cards, which doesn't surprise me. That's just standard Eugen games, I'm afraid. But they've also reworked aircraft pricing. They've reworked the tanks and tank pricing. You know, they added in the auto loaders and everything due to feedback. And they're going to rework artillery, because artillery is terrible at the moment. And I'm still hoping they're going to rework recon, because something needs to be done with recon and their line of sight. Because the way they've changed scaling in Warno, recon doesn't seem to work correctly. Some people might argue it's fantastic and everything else, but I notice a massive difference between when I play Wargame Red Dragon and play with recon and utilize it and move it forward, and when I play Warno. In Wargame Red Dragon, I can see stuff with my recon. Stuff appears when I get close enough. In Warno, it feels like I have to be on top of the unit before I see it. There's a balance even in between those 2 points that Warno can reach, but it's not there yet. There's something still not quite right with the recon. But hopefully, before release, they will address this, and they will take a look at it. Hopefully, I have my fingers crossed. As I said, artillery is going to get a rework soon. It should be coming with the next big patch, hopefully. Forward deployment is still a contentious issue. It's very powerful. People have mixed feelings about it. And I still have mixed feelings about it. I think it's definitely here to stay. I think it just needs an ongoing review of its balance, be that pricing of the units, be that how many you have available to you to forward deploy. Because things might change once artillery is fixed. It's not going to be super powerful, but it's going to be a bit more powerful than it is now. And that means maybe you can dislodge these forward deployment troops and be able to attack easier. Does that quite make sense? Probably not. I don't mean attack easier. I mean that when you attack in Warno, as with Wargame, but more so in Warno, if you're the attacking side, you're in a very detrimental position, especially in Warno, because of the lack of artillery. You cannot dislodge or easily dislodge defending troops because they're not scared. They just stand there and get repaired by supply trucks. We'll see how things progress after the artillery rework. Maybe that will nullify some of the forward deployment stuff, and maybe it'll also change gameplay enough that, you know, attacking isn't quite such a detriment to your own force. Speaking of supply, the other thing which has been mentioned on and off are fobs. So the supply fobs that we had in Wargame Red Dragon, they've talked about possibly bringing them back. There's a lot of umming and ahhing over how they're going to do it, I think. A good suggestion has been that you have an off-map fob, and that your trucks will come in empty and then you can send them off-map to collect more supply and come back. A bit like how your jets go off-map and then come back resupplied. That's quite a nice idea. You see, the big change with Warno to Wargame Red Dragon is obviously in Wargame you had your main base which you controlled, which you had to defend, and that's where your fob was. Whereas in Warno you don't have that. So yes, you could put a supply fob down, but it's not quite like you're defending your main base. It's just a fob that's going to be sat in the middle there. So I kind of like the aspect of having an off-map option. But I'd love to know what other people think. So let me know in the comments, do you think it should be an off-map option where you send your trucks and choppers to resupply? Do you think it should be a fob like you had in Wargame Red Dragon? Or do you think, in fact, that there just should be no FOBs at all and you should completely rely on the supply vehicles you have? And in that case, are there enough supply vehicles in a deck, or do you think there should be more? Question mark, question mark. Let me know in the comments. We have 12 divisions in, at least 4 more to come. We've got 3 campaigns to come, and we have some kind of tutorial probably linked into those campaigns. So there's still plenty of content to come. I think we're still going to be looking towards the end of the year before that's all ready. I don't expect it to be any sooner than that. Maybe I'll be surprised. So the big question that I know you all have is, should I buy Warno yet? And unfortunately, I'm still going to upset you by saying the answer remains the same as previously, which is, it's kind of up to you. Warno is in a better place now than it ever has been. It's the most balanced it ever has been. The reworks they've done to infantry and tanks are in the right direction. The pricing reworks and everything else. There's obviously still needs to be a little jiggery pokery around. There's still a few issues like the recon, the artillery. That's all getting worked on, hopefully. Seed planes are a little bit of a question mark at the moment. Some of the anti-air vastly outranges the seed planes, which makes them a bit of a question mark at the moment. They don't quite behave like they did in Wargame Red Dragon. Generally speaking, it's rare for them to miss in Wargame Red Dragon. They do miss, but it's rare. And they're a little bit more effective because they have a long range compared to most of the anti-air. Whereas there seems to be a bit of disparity between that in Warno right now. So I think, again, that's something that's going to need looking at. But again, these things are simple enough for them to go in and gradually alter. And the balance is a challenge in these games. And it will go on till after launch. Right now, Warno is still in early access. It is not a finished game. There is still a lot of balancing to do over time. There's still 2 entire new factions or nations to bring in, the British and the French, and that's going to change balance again, and then it'll have to be slightly reworked again. But as it stands, I can recommend Warno more now than I could 6 months ago, but it's still an early access game, so you're still having to put up with the fact that things are changing over time, and it's not always going to be a perfectly pleasant experience. Sometimes things aren't going to work as intended. Sometimes they're going to completely rework something that you've got used to. And that's all part of making a better game for final release. But everything they've done so far has been a step in the right direction. The team themselves are really passionate about the game. And I've had the opportunity to speak to some of these guys one-on-one, and they have a real love of Eugen's previous titles. Some of them got into the industry because of playing those games. Some of them got into Eugen because of playing those games. So, they are genuine fans of this game. They love playing it even outside of work, which is insane to me because they must play it all day, every day. And it's not just that they like this game. They have interest in other games that I would play, be it RTS, be it, Operation Flashpoint back in the day, and Arma 3. These guys have a passion for these war games. And I think that's something that is demonstrated in the final product. And though we may not all agree with every decision they make, I think overall they are going to make a very good game. So I am hopeful that by the end of this year, we will have a finished product. We will have the 4 remaining divisions in. We will have the 3 campaigns. And then some good post-release support, which, they're already planning to have DLCs in the future with other divisions. They want more North Ag stuff. They want South Ag stuff. They're going to eventually have most of the European nations in, just like they did in Wargame. So there's still a ways to go, but we're getting there slowly. So it remains up to you if you want to support the development of the game. In which case, go buy the game. If you're wanting to wait and don't want to deal with an early access game, then you wait. Simple as that. You still got Wargame and still Division 2 to play. But I'm pleased to say things are heading in the right direction. And there's very little else I can say. Obviously in the background I've been running through with various images from the Instagram page and things like that, just for a little bit of entertainment, because this video is mostly me talking nonsense about the game. So thank you for sticking with it. I hope it has been enlightening for those of you who don't actually have the game. But for those who do, I hope you're still enjoying it. I hope that you also feel that it's going in the right direction. And I'll see you all soon for some more Warno.